They're working overtime, working all this, and other people are raising their kids. They're not spending time with their own children because they have to work.
Unite Here is a labor union that represents over 300,000 people across Canada and the United States. 32,000 of those workers are right here in Long Beach at the Local 11 chapter. Thanks to the fight of the Local 11, the Hyatt Regency and the Hyatt Centric agreed to bring a minimum pay to between $22 and $25 an hour for non-tipped positions, including housekeepers, cooks, front desk workers, and stewards. The contract also includes free family health insurance. I'm joined today by a union representative and a union member who are going to talk about the importance of this move and how every job has dignity. That's next on this week's The Word. So you think the Democratic Party cares about Black people? Believe it or not, Rex, I think that tweet is part of the problem. Do you feel like we could have addressed this homeless issue much sooner? You have to speak a word, make it a good one. Welcome back to The Word. Once again, I am Jackie Ray. We have talked several times about the impact of finances, inflation, things like that on our world. We've talked about that several times, specifically here in Long Beach, though. There is some good news, especially with union workers who work in our hotel and hospitality industry. So we're going to talk about that today. I have two guests on my show right now. We have a union rep from Unite Here Local 11. I do want to let you guys know, because I don't know if a lot of you know what HERE stands for. It stands for the Hotel Employees and Restaurant Employees, which I like that was incorporated in that great acronym. So I just wanted you guys to introduce yourselves. Lorraine, let's start with you.
Yeah, my name's Lorraine. I work for the Hyatt Centric at the Pike. I've been there. This will be my second year there. I'm a local Long Beach resident and a very proud member of the Unite Here Local 11. I work at the front desk at the hotel.
My name is Ada Briceño, and I'm co-president of Unite Here Local 11. I have the honor of representing very courageous workers in the tourism industry who every day stand up against multi-million-dollar corporations to make sure that they have a better living. And I was a front desk clerk, just like Lorraine, when I first started in the union.
Okay, and how long has that been?
Really?
Yeah. Okay, let me rephrase that.
32 years.
Oh,
32
wow.
years. Yes.
Okay.
I started when I was really young in the hotel industry and worked my way into union leadership.
And what made you understand the importance of unions 32 years ago?
When I got that first job at the union, I got my best meal of the day, my first pair of glasses, and I was making $2 more an hour back in the 90s than in my non-union job. But your question, I'm going to answer more thoroughly and say that the one thing that I found there was my voice. And that was the most crucial part. Glasses were great, and so was the meal, but finding my voice, knowing that I can join cooks and dishwashers and join forces to make sure that we were treated better, that we had dignity and respect on the job.
Specifically for you, there's been a shift, back in the day, especially my parents did, my grandparents, my grandfather used to talk about unions all the time. Like, it was just a given. If you were any kind of service industry, you were part of a union. Then there was this shift, and now workers are once again trying to fight and unionize. Why do you think there was that lull with unions and now it's on the rise again?
Well, look, the reason why it's on the rise is because people are being pressed to no end. And we have seen the endless greed of these corporations and CEOs across industries, but primarily, or important to us in the tourism industry. And people are squeezed till no end. Many of our members are one paycheck away from homelessness. Many are already couch surfing and living in their cars, and no more, right? We are pushing back against this societal belief that a room attendant, someone who scrubs toilets and makes up beds, or someone that washes dishes can and is acceptable to struggle and to have to work multiple jobs. We are rejecting that scenario we're pushing back to ensure that people have a dignified life.
I love that you said that. I did one of the first podcasts I did was when the CSEA workers for the Long Beach Unified School District were trying to fight for more money. So in that process, I interviewed several people who were part of that union. And one in particular, he and his wife had been, they had great longevity. They had really good jobs. So they were kind of higher up and they were making a lot more money. And his thought process was, well, if the people who are making less money want to make more money, they should just go out and get an education. That was somebody in the union. So what does that thought process say to you, especially from someone who is a union member?
Look, there's a lot of education. Every job has dignity. Our society moves forward with everybody doing the work that needs to be done.
Mhm.
And again, I don't think there's anything more that needs to be said other than every job is dignified.
Mhm.
And we saw in the pandemic, they said that we were essential workers. Finally, people realized that the essential necessity of everybody's job.
And Lorraine, we were talking a little bit before the show, and you said that you used to be a flight attendant.
Yes.
So tell me how you transitioned to flight attendant to now working in the hotel.
My dad was going through some health problems, so I wanted to be home, and that job just didn't allow me to be home. So I was kind of forced to make a decision and come home. And it was a good decision at the time. And then I found some temporary work, and then the pandemic happened, and then I was unemployed.
Mm.
So when I moved to where we are now, I was actually unemployed in a brand new apartment with my partner and a new baby. So that was kind of a struggle and a little interesting. But, after a while, I did find work at the Hyatt, and I was ready to join that workforce again. And, it was the closest move to what I was comfortable with, where my, when it comes to employment, where my heart is, the type of work I like to do. And that's working with people, just kind of sharing my joy with people every day in my workplace. Like it doesn't feel like work most days when you're working with people you love and, having these experiences with people from all over the world. That's kind of one of the things that I really loved about being a flight attendant is meeting people from all over, and I still get to do that at the Hyatt. So,
And when you took the job at the Hyatt, did you go? Because I know this happens to a lot of us now, especially in this economy. We take jobs even though the salary is below what we want.
right.
Did you go into that knowing that this is not the salary that I want, but this is probably going to end up being a fight later?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When I left the airline industry, I was making upwards of $30 an hour, and I was only there for about 6 years. So that was, getting raises every year. I will say that I won't name the specific airline, but we didn't have a union. So a lot of the fighting for our rights was just done specifically by employees. And, I wish we would have had better representation, but we didn't. But that's another story. But, going to Hyatt, I did know that, yes, I was starting lower than I could survive on, but, luckily I am a two-income household and we can make it work. This was just my step in. That's the way I was seeing it as, and getting back into the industry, back in the workforce, especially for the level that they expect from us, the type of work that they expect from us, from this type of hotel brand is they set the bar pretty high, the standard pretty high in customer service and in the hospitality industry. So knowing that, when I saw the initial pay, I thought to myself, that's just, a starting point for sure.
I think a lot of people think that it's just a starting point. I'll get raises, and then you're in this for a while and you don't get a raise.
Yeah.
And then it becomes, does it feel like there's a lack of respect when you don't get that increase?
I didn't feel that way initially, but after working there, after the first year and seeing how busy our specific locations get, we're convention hotels, we're waterfront hotels. We're right at the port where all the cruise ships come in, and we cater to these groups of people every day. We're sold out every week, and Long Beach has all these festivals coming in, these events that come in that we are specifically catering to. We have these groups staying with us, and so we're working a lot, and when the expectations are getting higher and higher for us, but yet we're not seeing any type of increase in pay. We get acknowledged, but it's kind of like a pat on your back, and it's like, that's nice, but we need to pay our bills. So, yeah, after a while, you definitely want that. You want to see that in your pay. I just went on the internal website and looked up open positions at these other properties. I see starting points at $22, $23 an hour, and we didn't make that starting, and we still didn't make that. Even well, I didn't 2 years later. So it's just something was off there to me.
I was reading on the website that Local 11 really started because specifically Latino women didn't feel like they had a voice within the union. How does that work sometimes where, yes, the union is there to fight for the employees, but how can the employees make sure their voice is heard within the union?
This is why I've been at Local 11 for the last 32 years, because we focus on leadership development. And, stories like, myself and Lorraine are the stories of the union, right? And the only way that we can move things forward, it's not top down, it's bottom up, right? What the boss can't fear Lorraine as a shop steward, for example. They need to understand that every dishwasher and every room attendant and every front desk clerk are lined up together, moving forward, because if not, they'll lose. They'll take advantage of that. So we have a program where we talk one-on-one and we organize our workers. We have leaders in each of the workplaces and each of the departments that talk to a whole bunch of workers there. And then we're trying to move forward in one direction. And that's a step that we can't skip as a labor movement. That's the step that we need everybody lining up. And that's why we won at the Hyatt, because we spoke with one voice and people were fierce about, that no more, right? And that's setting an example of what other workers across our industry and across our jurisdiction are going to be doing as we move forward in the summer. I'm very excited.
When we were at the announcement and everyone was so excited, it was great seeing everyone gathered there. And the first thing that I saw, that resonated with me, is the same thing that's on the website. It's predominantly women, and it's predominantly women of color. And when I think about just what we as women, first of all, and then
Right.
when you say women of color, what we have to fight through, do you think that sometimes, because this is the predominant demographic, do you think that also sometimes contributes to the amount of fight? Is it systemic, or is it capitalism? Or is it both?
It's misogyny, systemic, capitalistic. When the industry, when we had COVID, our members from one day to another left the industry. 90%. They were laid off, right? And which was the department that the companies took advantage of the most? The housekeeping department.
Right.
Every department. I gotta say, they're even, they're even, they mess people up evenly.
Right.
But the housekeeping department, which across the nation is women and women of color. And that's really disheartening, because it is systemic for us to think about, messing with women. And that's why it feels so great, right? Like, look, we have a fight in our country to equal pay, to make sure that we have equal pay. Well, the union is at the forefront of that, right? We are passing legislation to make sure that, because we're predominantly women of color in our industry, that we're lifting that and we're helping the rest of the industries and rest of the workforce understand that they too can demand $25, $30 an hour in this economy. Absolutely. Where we see CEOs making $10,000 a day.
That's always been, troubling to me. My dad used to say something that sounded good when I was a kid, but is not realistic now as an adult. But he used to always tell me, never work for a company that you couldn't afford to patron. So, basically, if you get a retail job, but you can't afford the items there, don't work there. If you work in a hotel, but you couldn't afford to stay there, don't work there. He used to always tell me that how people treat you is how you know that they appreciate you and they value you, and then you could potentially have longevity there. I think that might be one of the reasons we see such high turnover rates now in the workforce, is because I read a report in the New York Times, the best way to get a raise now is to find another job.
Mhm.
It's more difficult to get that raise within your job. So when you think about dignity, I travel a lot. I go to Denver all the time, and it's exactly what you said. During that in COVID with my mom in Denver and traveling there, my room was never cleaned.
Yeah.
And then I went the last time and it was clean, and I literally wanted to run up to the housekeeping lady and be like, "Oh my God, thank you," because I just wasn't used to that. Because that's one of the reasons you're going to that hotel. You're going there for an experience, and housekeeping is part of that experience.
That's right.
And I think we, as people who go to the hotel, we understand that. But as a society, there's a lack of value on something that we want to experience. And
Right.
so I appreciate you saying that. And do you feel valued at your job now more so than you did before? Does this increase make you feel valued?
I will say that this increase makes us feel, and I say us because I feel like I kind of speak on behalf of a lot of my colleagues that don't feel empowered to speak for themselves. But I will say that it makes us feel valued, and it gives us hope that our voices are heard, and that we do have a say in how we get treated and how we get paid. And in the future, when we have opportunities to fight for more pay and more acknowledgement, that the Hyatt will acknowledge us, and because they see us and they care. And I will say, to my immediate management that I see on a daily basis, they do make us feel valued and cared about every day. When they knew what we were fighting for, I had at my properties, I can only speak for my property at the Centric, but they supported us and they said, "You deserve it, and we stand behind you. And if we could give you this right now, we would, but we'll support you." And they did. My manager, she covered me while I went to the union meetings at the front desk, just so I could be there in person. And so, yeah, I will say that this move is definitely a move that tells us we're supported.
And you have how old is your?
Four. He just turned four.
Just turned 4.
This month. Yeah.
So, but like you said, you come from a dual income,
Mhm.
which probably makes it a little easier. But I'm sure
absolutely.
people who aren't,
Yeah.
and probably are
yeah.
supporting a young child as well.
Yeah, I have colleagues that are single parents that have multiple children that they're supporting, and living in combined family housing, and just really struggling. And so this increase is crucial to everybody, but everyone has their different struggles that they're going through. I know that I am privileged to have a partner that is, employed, and we have a 2-income household. But anyone who lives in Long Beach can tell you that the rent is not cheap, and
Right.
a lot of people have left Long Beach because of that. And I have definitely been one to consider it, but I don't want to leave Long Beach. I work here, I live here. My son was born and raised here, and knows our community very well, and we are embraced by our community. And to have to leave that, it's not an option for me. So
Right.
I'll do what I can to stay there, but I don't want to leave my property either. And that was another option that I thought about too, is going to another property where the employees are already making more money. But our management, they don't want to lose good people. They don't want to lose people who are invested in this company. So I hope that they know that and will continue to invest in us.
We are coming up on the expiration date of about 100 contracts throughout our jurisdiction, not only in Long Beach, but also in Los Angeles and Arizona and Orange County. And so we're in the process. Our members authorized us to strike. So we are looking for a change in what's happening, a real increase to sustain families, to keep health care, to better our pension, to to have more dignity on the job, workload reductions, language so for example, no discrimination on folks that have lived mass incarceration, the integration of Blacks in our industry, which have been extracted for some time, the inclusion of Juneteenth, to make sure that we reckon with what our country has done to Blacks. And so there's many components of that, and our members are willing to move, to do anything in their power to make sure that they get a raise. And at the same time, we're also legislating increases. And so we're in Los Angeles talking to city council folks, moving a $25 an hour minimum wage for the workers in the tourism industry. And we have been, having conversations with the mayor and city council here. Lorraine and I have, been at these meetings speaking to city council folks to let them understand that no more. We've got to do this. We've got to raise it. We've got to fix the workload issue for our workers. We have to make sure that there's daily room cleaning again in those hotels. And we're going to have a comprehensive campaign. We're bringing along our community here in Long Beach and Los Angeles. And in fact, we're also moving and talking to legislators in Anaheim to pass a similar initiative. So throughout our jurisdiction, we are wanting to move large numbers of workers to lift the bottom and make sure that our economy is better, because when you lift the bottom, inevitably everybody comes up. So, I'm very excited about our union taking on these initiatives and being bold in our demands, realistic but bold. And that's the only way that we're going to move, working families and our communities forward.
I often hear people, like I said, I go to hotels a lot, and people say stuff like, oh, if they give everyone a raise, then you as the consumer are going to have to pay higher wages. But then when you sit down and you really look at the profit margins, is that actually necessary?
No, I mean, people are already paying $500 a night at my property. So the hotels, they're making the money.
We saw these changes come about with COVID, as we've been talking.
Absolutely.
We saw the rates increase, the services decrease,
Right.
their profit margins increase.
Right.
They also got subsidized from the government, right, with the paycheck protection. That was supposed to go to the workers, and it really didn't. So we're seeing an industry that is at its best level now, right? They're like, they have surpassed, they've come out of COVID, and they're making profit margins even before 2019. So it's time that our workers stop worrying about whether or not they're going to be able to stay in their apartment for the next 2 months.
Right.
It's time to start giving them some security, and they're responsible for ensuring that people have a dignified life.
Right. When you were talking about your membership group authorized you to strike, do you find that sometimes there's a level of fear? Because I think people are like, I don't want to rock the boat. I'm getting a check.
Oh, definitely.
Let's just stay silent. Is that a thing?
Yeah, of course.
Definitely.
It is, the reason why in this country we are in the place where we are is because we've been outmaneuvered by, the rich, right? We have been taught to be fearful because they hold our paycheck. And we see, again, when we're pressed and we're put, against the wall, that people's fears, as long as we have a strong plan, to move forward, an organized strategy to win, when we organize them, people are willing to take those risks. That's why I said I'm so happy to be side by side these courageous workers, because even though there is, a potential difficulty there, and they're afraid to lose their job, they also have belief in themselves.
Right.
And their colleagues, and that they're not alone. There's, thousands of hotels, in Los Angeles. We have a wide, we've built strength to make sure that we're empowering our workers to take moves. Look, our families can no longer hold back and say, "Oh, we'll just see how it goes."
Right.
the parents of the children of our members who are parents of children are unwilling to say, I'm going to wait it out any longer. We've been there. We've done that. It's time for us to take a bold move. And you saw the results in the Hyatt Centric, and we will see results in the rest of our jurisdiction as well, because we've been planning this for a long time. We've been building power for a while, and we are going to call on our colleagues and our folks that have been standing with hotel workers and tourism workers to back us up.
Do you think some of it has to do with changing the mindset? I remember, like you said, when the pandemic hit, in my mind, before the pandemic, working someplace like a grocery store was a stepping stone until you found something else. And then the pandemic hits, and then we're all panicked. We don't really know what's going on. And I'm having to walk into the grocery store, and there's people. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to stay home to be safe, but these people have to be here so
Yeah.
I can get, maybe this
Right.
isn't a stepping stone. So maybe we as a society shouldn't view these positions the way that we do. So is part of your fight changing the mindset of people who are outside the industry?
Absolutely. We've got to note that it takes all of us. We all bring something different to the table in order to move forward. You and I have different skill sets. Lorraine and I have different skill sets. But it doesn't mean that I get to not take care of my health,
Right.
or not have a roof over my head, be somewhere to be able to lay my head down, to have a pillow to lay my head down,
Put your
and
kids through
have
school.
exactly
Right.
and have
Everybody should
comfort.
be able to put their kids through school and not have to work 3 jobs just to do it, and be able to save for their children's future. Um, you should be able to just work at one job and
That's
work
right.
really good at your job and be really good at your job and be paid for that job that you do and be able to support your family.
In Long Beach, in addition to the $25 minimum wage and the daily room cleaning, we also have a provision that we want the city council to pass to ensure that room attendants have a set, no more than a certain amount of square footage, because we want to protect. We only have two hands, we only have two legs, and the rate of injuries that room attendants have is very, very high. And if you see a room attendant's hands, they will look 10 years older than as they are, right? Because they're working with chemicals, they're working to lift heavy mattresses, they're working on picking up dirty and wet towels, which are so heavy. So we're looking at at our workers in every single aspect. Yes, they need to eat. Yes, they need pensions. Yes, they need health care, but they need to take care of their bodies. And together we're going to um, pass these legislations and make sure the industry protects, and our contracts protects the industries and the workers that are in there.
Now, you're in a dual income household, like we said, but your partner, when you guys discussed this raise and this health care, what did that mean specifically to your partner and how you'll move forward as a household?
Oh, well, he'll be the first to tell you, like he cheered and clapped too, because obviously, it's giving him a little bit of less of a load to carry. He makes more money than me, so he obviously pays the bulk of our bills, but all of our we say baby expenses. He's not a baby anymore, but baby expenses come from me. I pay for groceries. I pay for the phone bill. I pay for now childcare, because we're looking to put him in preschool now. Preschool is $800 a month. So
That's expensive.
it's expensive. If you don't, unfortunately, we don't qualify for a lot of assistance because we are a dual income household. We're paying out of pocket for childcare, so that's coming out of my pocket, out of his pocket. On top of all of the other living costs that we pay. That these are just the additional expenses of living in Long Beach and having a child, and so although we are blessed to have a dual income, this increase is going to help us a lot. It's going to help me provide for my child, to be able, up to right now, we don't have childcare. We work opposite schedules so that one of us can be home with him because we can't afford childcare. We can't afford daycare.
You have to say to yourself, okay, we have to work opposite shifts just to make ends meet. How does that affect your relationship?
Well, we see each other in passing.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we've been together for a long time, so sometimes the space is nice, but having to try to schedule our off days just to have family time. And luckily, I have management who, they love us and support us. And I can usually hold a Sunday off every week. Just that's my family day. But it's like that's one day a week where we all get to spend a day together. And outside of that, we're working opposite schedules. My son has to split his time with both his parents.
I think that's one of those impacts that people just don't realize. You almost have to sacrifice your relationship a little bit to be able
Family
to work
life.
at this. Yeah. And that's just not, that shouldn't be, family time shouldn't be a luxury. It should be a given.
Right.
At least.
And I think, well, in this, I won't even say just this industry, but in this country, I see it a lot where people are working hard. They're working overtime, working all this, and other people are raising their kids. They're
That's
not.
right.
They're not spending time with their own
That's
children
right.
because they have to work overtime. They have to put in all these hours, and just to support the household, just to support their children, put their children through school, and pay for that childcare. And they're sacrificing family life time to raise their own children, and it's heartbreaking. When I became a parent, that's not the type of parent I wanted to be.
It's definitely a societal mind shift that we need, and I think the unions are starting to really help with that. For me, it was the aha moment was going in the grocery store in the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
I was like, oh, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I would hope that people would think that as well. But one of the things that I've found is companies are always trying to be beholden to stakeholders and make, like you said, the rich people the most money at the sake of everyone else. I heard people say a lot, coming back from the pandemic, people don't want to work. I don't find that to be the case. People don't want to work and barely be able to live.
Right.
And I do think that's a societal thing. I've had the opportunity to travel to other countries. They rest, they enjoy life.
They enjoy their lives.
It's definitely an American thing to work yourself to death and not be honorable in some way. And that's just not living. So I'm happy that you guys are making this shift, and hopefully it's a slow change, but hopefully it will continue.
Yeah, it's a first big step.
Yeah. Now I know this is a 6-month contract, right?
Our contract is ending in June.
In June.
Yes.
Okay. And then
it's expiring in June.
Will you have to go back to the negotiating table, or are you already in the works with that?
We're already started our negotiations, yes.
And is it smoother this time?
Look, it's going to be a fight.
Okay.
Our members are gearing up. Our community, our people of faith are lined up to support us. It's not going to be easy because our demands are strong. So, but we're ready. We're ready for it.
Well, I definitely thank you guys both for coming on the show. I think the personal aspect of it is the piece of it that I think sometimes a lot of people forget. People think that you're just asking for money. Well, yes, we're asking for money, but it's because
that's right.
It's quality of life.
Yeah,
that's what we're asking
for. We don't have a barter system, in
right?
The United States, so
exactly.
We kind of need that money, so I appreciate that. The healthcare, I'm sure, has been fantastic for you as well.
Oh yeah, that's just a whole nother fun part of parenting. Is you have a little human that you're raising, and you want to. I mean, my healthcare as well, but I do have a child. A little person that I need to make sure is healthy and happy, and I need access to healthcare. I mean, anyone in America deserves healthcare. Anyone does. But everybody, people who have children shouldn't have to struggle or worry about taking their child to the doctors.
We've definitely moved away from making sure the worker is valued to now it's all about the company. So I really hope that this shift continues. And I thank you guys for being on the front line.
Thank you.
And doing that, because I do agree with that this is one of those mindsets that has to change across the board.
Mhm.
And part of that is just valuing each other as human beings.
That's right.
So, you know, I thank you guys for this. Anything else you want to add?
No, just thank you for telling our story.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And you know, just to look out, because we're going to be talking to Long Beach residents about raising the wage here and making sure that we pass this successful initiative in the upcoming month.
And how can the general population help you in this fight?
You know, we have an Action Network petition that we will forward to you, and maybe you can add it to your link. That would be great.
I would absolutely love that.
And you know, if you're a Long Beach resident, or if, you know, wherever you might be, we'll love your signature and support for tourism workers, making sure they have a dignified life by making $25 an hour and other protections.
I thank you guys both for that. And I really wanted people to hear the human aspect, because I think sometimes we're so dollars and it really is more than that. It really is about people and being good to each other and make sure, you know, we can have a life that's worth living, right? So appreciate you both for being here. Thank you guys so much for listening. This is a great topic, and remember to humanize people. All work has dignity. I love that phrase, and it's so true, because we need each other no matter what we're talking about. So keep that in mind as you move throughout, and then go ahead and click that link so you can also help with this movement, because you never know how it might benefit you later. Once again, I'm Jackie Ray, and remember, if you have to speak a word, make it a good one. We'll see you next time.